The following program is brought to you by Blood, Sweat, Tears, and listeners like you. To support this show and all of the shows within Twib Nation, consider becoming a subscriber of our pay service, The Twibularity, at twib.me/subscribe. That's twib.me/subscribe. Or you can give a one-time donation at donate.twib.me. That's donate.twib.me. We've all learned how important media is and who tells our stories. Help us be the media that you want to hear and that the media is afraid to hear. It's kind of hard to listen to yourself become irrelevant.
This is Twib Nation.
Today is Wednesday, March 1st, 2017, and on today's Twib Prime, yes, we are aware that the president made a speech. No, we didn't watch it, and I'm pretty sure we were the ones on the right side of history. All of this and more with Team Blackness on today's Twib Prime.
So from now on, whenever you hear these horns, just know you are now entering the blackness. Collard greens, cornbread, and the catfish. Malcolm X and Dr. King with a black fist. We are live, son. This is blackness. You are now entering the blackness. Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and the classics. Real love, the opposite of ratchet. We are live, son. This is blackness.
What is going on, people? We are back. This is This Week in Blackness Prime. I am your host, Elon James White. With me, as per usual, is Team Blackness, consisting of, she is the host of the next big thing with Courtney and Dara. She's a former tech person who can be your tech person now for the right money, but not like that, but for the other way that you give money. That's right. We have Dara M without the Dot Wilson, madam.
Hello.
How are you doing, ma'am?
I've got adornments.
You got adornments? I mean, but when do you not really have adornments?
When I'm sick.
Okay, I'll go with that because I'm gonna say you often have adornments, madam. I feel like that's just how you roll. Cruise control.
I am on cruise control. No, I'm here. I'm plugged in. I'm angry.
That's a lot. I accept you, but that's all a lot.
I mean, yeah, but that's also normal.
You're right. You're right. I have an announcement. Twitter. I mean, not Twitter. Twib Nation. I don't know why.
Say that one more time.
I said I had an announcement. Twib Nation.
I have announcement Twitter.
I have announcement Twitter. I mean, that's listen. It happens. You're gonna let me cook. But yeah, I went out with Dara yesterday, and I saw Dara for Dara. It was interesting. And Dara got mad at me when I said, "I see you." Say, Dara, I see you. And she's like, "No, you don't. Shut up." Which I think is rude, Dara. Did you ever consider that to be rude?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so now that none of that happened.
Yeah. None
Dara,
of what happened? What are you talking
Dara,
about?
we are not. You no. I say no.
I just want context. I don't know what you're talking about.
So what I'm saying didn't even happen in the reality that you were trying to get people to believe.
I'm not trying to get people to believe anything. I'm just asking for more context.
The context is, you know what I'm talking about. That's the context.
It just seems like you should have more words. And
Guess what? Guess what I don't have?
Do not.
Guess what I don't have? Because you know what I'm talking about. You fucking with me, and that's cool though.
I'm not.
At the production desk, we got Brent. What up, Brent?
Hi. How y'all doing?
We're okay, Brent. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Just hanging in there, making sure I stay on top of these camera switches.
I mean, you better. At the moment, we are broadcasting right now to 3 different platforms. We're playing with the streams. I mean, we've recently brought back Twib FM, and that's going. So if you want to listen just to the audio, if you have the TuneIn app, you can use TuneIn to listen, or you can go to twib.me/TuneIn for the link for that. We also are broadcasting to our Blackness.tv YouTube channel, which you can get to at Blackness.live. What? That is pimping. How did no one have it? Dara, how? I went and looked at and Blackness.live was just free. Just like when Blackness.tv, every time I see it, I'm like, how is no one buying this?
No say.
Huh? It's like Blackness Live. Boom. So you can watch us there. Also, we're streaming to Twitter through Periscope, which you can tune in at, I believe, Periscope. Actually, periscope.twib.live. What? URLs on URLs, son? What you know about URLs?
What was that URL?
Periscope.twib.live. That is for us on that. And if you're on Facebook, as long as you are if you go to the Twib Prime Facebook page, Twib Prime with Elon James White, you can watch the stream there. We're doing Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube while we're hitting the Twib FM. We sending it all out there, son. People gonna get this. Aren't you happy, Tara?
People gonna get this.
People gonna get this. People gonna get this. We're keeping that Black independent media game tight. And that's good. Any reminders that we want to hit here? Besides, phone lines are open. 718-404-9320. That is the phone lines, right? 718-404. Yes. Okay.
Or is it your phone number?
It might have been my phone number, which is what I was worried about, because I do that shit sometimes, and I get worried, and I'm like, oh, that would be bad, because it's not like people aren't already prepared to send me racist shit. Like as soon as people can get my phone number, they're like, racism, yum, and they come for me. But I would prefer not to have that on a regular basis. I accept it sometimes, not all the time. Can we go with that, Dara? Sometimes, not all the time.
I actually do not think that is achievable, but maybe you don't have to invite it into your inbox.
Valid. You don't have to invite it back into your inbox. So phone lines will be open today. 718-404-93. You got to watch that camera change, Brent. What was that? What was that? Just got Dara looking nervous. 718-404-9320. The number again is 718-404. That is the number, right? 718-404-9320. You can get up on that. Remember that you can support Twib by, if you use Amazon, you're shopping for stuff, go to amazon.twib.me. That's amazon.twib.me. You buy your regular stuff, and magically we get a referral. You don't pay anything out extra, and it helps us run things. So yay for that. Dara, do you want to hit this docket in some sort of reasonable way?
I'm so excited.
Why?
Because as I mentioned to you earlier, I woke up at 4 a.m. And from that moment, I have had a pit in my stomach about what you were going to say about me on the air. So we're just moving on, and that's fine.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. Whatever thoughts you were having last night that you were not articulating.
That you said that didn't happen?
I didn't say it didn't happen. Once again, I just asked for context, because literally I don't know what you think.
Well, I told you.
No, you didn't, Elon. You said words, and those words didn't mean things.
It meant so many things.
No, you were in the drinking food.
Really? I was in the drinking.
I said you were in the drinking food.
Were you in the drink?
Yes.
How deep in the drink? Pretty deep?
Normal?
Well, okay, that doesn't mean anything. Like, normal could be just, like, insane.
It's not, though.
We don't know that. But no, Dara, you always are worried. I'm not.
I am always
Dara,
worried.
I thought we had established.
I literally have no idea what you were saying, and so.
So that's fine. I accept you anyway. Can I get a news story? And I'm gonna understand what you're saying. Come on, Feather Girl.
God, I really don't want to do this.
What? You don't want to do the show? What? Really?
No. Of course, that's not what I mean. Speaking of things that give me a pit in my stomach, let's talk about
sex,
baby. And no.
Pretty sure that gives you a pit in the stomach.
I wish there was a docket story about sex, because I would pivot to it immediately just because you said that. Unfortunately, the orangutan Tinder was last week. So
Indeed.
Let's talk about Agent Orange and the speech that he gave to the joint session of Congress yesterday. And so I don't know if you want to go through the number of falsehoods and mistruths and alternative facts and all the other kinds of ways people in the media have of saying lie.
I don't. I really don't. So it was funny yesterday. We were talking about whether or not whether we were gonna watch it, and I just knew I was gonna break and watch it, and then somehow, oh no, I know exactly what happened. We went inside the house, and I saw my baby, and I was oh, my baby's so adorable. And then I opened up my phone for the live stream of the joint session, and I saw Trump, Ryan, and Pence in the trifecta of fuckery, and I said no. Literally, that's what happened. I looked at it just like, no, I don't want this, and I actually did not watch it live. I caught a lot of it later, which I'm almost mad that I did. I would have preferred not to, but I did catch a lot of the stuff later, and I was happy that I did not waste my time watching it live, because I believe they said within 61 minutes he lied 51 times.
Yep.
And motherfuckers had the nerve to get on television and talk about how this is the moment when Trump became the president. This is the moment. So we're gonna ignore all of the incompetence, recklessness, all of that good shit leading up to this, because now that motherfucker presidential as fuck. What you know about being presidential, Dara M. without the dot Wilson?
Apparently not a goddamn thing. Because I don't understand what anybody was talking about.
No one understands what they're talking about.
Oh, and I just looked at myself and reminded myself of a character from Clue, and it's apt because I feel like flames are coming out of the side of my face. I guess for me, the story, instead of being necessarily all of the different lies he told, ended up becoming about the confounding progressive response, which was exactly what you said, that all of a sudden he is presidential. That he was specifically talking about the moment when he brought on the widow of the Navy SEAL who was slain in his operation in Yemen, that when he said words to her and she stood up sobbing, that was a moment where he was presidential. I think Katie Tur called him capital P presidential. She in subsequent tweets tried to contextualize and roll that back, but I'm not having it, Katie girl. Van Jones, of course, is kind of getting raked over the coals right now.
Van, really? Maybe
the
I haven't
last
been
thing
paying.
I heard from Van was hand-wringing over whether or not we had adequately spoken to white people during the presidential election.
Really, Van?
So
We've had Van on the show. I like Van. Van's actually
you telling me
Van's one
that
of the few
man is a
people-
bald-headed beauty.
He actually is actually hosted an episode of This Week in Blackness. Like, that's not something I just have everyone do or whatever. But like, I'm watching this. I'm like, seriously, Van? Like, seriously? This is, you thought, really? Like, can we have a moment? Just, it's almost as if everyone wants to desperately normalize things. And I you know what? To a certain extent, Dara, I get it. Because living with despair is hard.
Yeah, to human is to err, to normalize is also human.
Right. To wake up every day and just constantly see things like that SNL joke where about the judge saying she doesn't want to cry every time she gets a CNN alert about these things. I mean, okay, but we don't. One evening of reading a teleprompter without falling all over yourself does not make someone presidential. And it's weird that I have to say this. And the fact that that he used that moment, it was politicizing military death in a tremendous way that I don't understand how people like, because when I watched it I was like, wow, she actually looks really upset. I'm not sure, like, and her father, his father, the father of the fallen soldier, has been pissed as all get out and keeps calling Trump on this. But then he tries this thing, and people just go right along with it, Dara. Like, shit is cool. Explain it to me.
I just want to point out that at the end of the extended, largely standing ovation that the killed SEAL, whose name is Ryan Owens, received, Agent Orange said something to the effect of, "Oh, you know, Ryan is looking down right now, and he's happy because he broke a record," ostensibly referring to the length of the applause.
Really?
Yes. It's disgusting.
It's pretty goddamn disgusting.
And how that translates into what is then characterized as capital P presidential only serves to show that, so many things. One, that the bar for what it counts as presidential has been lowered from wherever it was when Obama was in office to 50,000 leagues under the sea. So essentially, he stood up straightish, read words off of a teleprompter, and now is presidential.
Right.
Like, you could take a class to read words off a teleprompter. That doesn't make you in any way qualified to be the leader of the so-called free world. Or
Sounds like
so-called leader. It sounds like I'm what?
Sounds like you hating.
On what exactly?
On that man's amazing speaking prowess.
Mm-hmm. What I do know is that executives at Time Warner, who own CNN and a number of other entities, as well as executives at other news media sources, got a stern talking to from officials from the White House. And that happened in the day or 2 days prior to this speech, and probably completely unrelated. The coverage of the speech was largely positive. So I'm sure those things have nothing to do with each other. I'm sure this also doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the media entities that have decided that they were going to stand up for truth and stand up to Trump because he was being mean to them, have decided that maybe they'll sit down for a little while because they are no longer the target of his ire. So if you thought that Trump and all his Trumpiness was going to give cover to the media to stop trying to be falsely fair and biased and actually adhere to facts of importance, well, that's not what's going to happen.
I thought there was something that I thought was very strange. Well, not so much strange as much as it was interesting. Someone I saw a tweet on Twitter about the difference of tone from the people that he was following. On his Twitter page, he basically juxtaposed vets to the press and the difference. And so, like, you can see, like, we have it on the screen now, like, you see, like, from the press, like, what President did with Owens' widow was capital P presidential, as Dara pointed out. He became the president of the United States in that moment, period. Van Jones. That was Reagan-esque moment for Trump. This is all media. And then you go to the other side where it was from vets, and it was like, no, Van Jones, he exploited and he exploited her and her family's grief. Another, get the camera off this poor woman, for fuck's sake. Another, or actually the person who even tweeted about this, Trump speaking for the dead Navy SEAL just now is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm sorry. Another person, I'm sorry, the guy just died 2 weeks ago. This is wrong. This is using a death for political gain in the worst way. Another, our civil-made divide has grown so deep wide that most don't even see how this use of Owens' widow was inappropriate. And if that's the thing, a lot of us saw it, but I'm not sure why it's being allowed to cook. I don't, like, even polls were like they looked at it positively. I'm like, just various moments from this speech where it's just like, you can't let that cook. You can't. And you also have to like, look at what he's saying there with what he has done as actual president. president actual. The fuck, Dara?
I mean, at the end of the day, this is a person who was directly responsible for the death of this man.
And they got
And
amazing.
benefiting off of that death, doing exactly what we've been talking about, you should be worried about, using acts of war to drum up patriotism to get people on his side.
Right.
And it's literally happening in real time. That this was a raid that, despite what he says, other intelligence officials have said has resulted in no usable intelligence and was done without the input of the necessary intelligence officials. It was sloppily done. He didn't even bother to go to the situation room when it was happening, and then has the nerve to use his grieving, sorrowful widow to gain political points. And not only is that happening, but people on the left in the media are buying right into it.
Yes. Yes. This is it's wonderful. And I don't did you there was a leak, not a leak, they previewed the New York Daily News cover for today. Did you see that, Dara?
I did not.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to see it.
I bet I don't.
Because it's one of those things, like, and also I don't know about you, but like I mentioned on Twitter that like said one speech doesn't make someone presidential, and the amount of people that were angry at me, that like they clearly were calling out, like looking for people to be upset at. They were doing Google searches for it. Actually, we have a phone call, Dara. Twib Prime, who is this and where are you calling from?
Hi, Elon. This is Lauren. I'm calling from Columbus, Ohio.
What's going on, man? What do you have to say about all this?
I must be a little bit behind where you are with my YouTube, but this whole thing with him using the widow is just, it's so upsetting. My husband has lost a few friends, one of his best friends, in fact, in our military, and it's horrifying. It's horrifying to see that used, and then for him to be like, oh, he must be happy he made a record for clapping. I think he'd rather be home with his family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I can't imagine that being a moment that's what you use in this argument, especially when it has been leaked by various senior officials that they didn't get that much intel. So, which is one of the things, like, this person died.
No, they
people
didn't.
Were wounded.
They didn't do the proper. They didn't do the proper intel or the proper anything for it
Right,
at
that
all.
wasn't the
And then
proper
to be like,
legwork
oh,
up
he's happy
front.
he got claps. No,
Right.
no.
and also the fact that this was also a raid that the Obama administration said no to. They were like, it's not going to work out, and they just I can't. And people are, and this is the moment. People are so proud. People like patriotism is somehow blinding people to the reality of the bullshit that they are being served, and it's sad.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, man, for calling in.
And our
All right.
condolences.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you very much. But yeah, Dara.
There's
Sorry.
there's one other part of this, because specifically on the Van Jones part, because I was racking my head for why this was happening. I watched his follow-up today on CNN, which was about 15 minutes of him trying to explain what it was he was actually trying to say. Some of the excuses that I saw were, well, when I say presidential, that's a very low bar. That to this point, he hasn't even acted up to the decorum of some of our worst presidents. And at this point, he finally has. That's what I mean by presidential. And also that the Democrats and liberals should understand that, as he said, the virus is mutating, that the way that these awful policies are coming across are now being communicated in a way that's going to allay the fears of your more moderate Democrats or lazy liberals, and those are my words. And to a certain extent, I see that point. However, he was talking about all of that in the context of the bounce that will come out of this speech and the reaction to this speech. And I think it is completely irresponsible to acknowledge that there will be a bounce from a speech, from a perception of a speech, and not acknowledge that you making the pull quote about the speech, now he is presidential, directly impacts what that bounce looks like and how people perceive it. So I watched the whole thing because I was trying to have an open mind. I watched all 15 minutes, and like I said, I understand what he is saying, and he's like, I don't understand why everybody's mad at me for saying this. Like he made some basketball analogy, like if you were playing against a team who could only drive it to the hole and all of a sudden they started making threes, you have to acknowledge that they make threes. Fine. But I think it is, I don't know, I think it's incredibly unfair, first of all, to act like liberals have only been saying, oh, he doesn't act presidential and therefore this is why we don't like him. Now, is that a huge part of it? Yes, because you know Democrats love decorum, and that is something that deeply bothers them. He's all racist, but he doesn't do it right, which is something that we know. But at the end of the day, this is a person who gets on stage, talks about caring about clean water, as he earlier that same day rolled back Obama's biggest water executive order.
Do you even think he knows what's happening? I'm being real here. Like, does he even understand? Like he seems like he really is genuinely just not very much aware of what's going on at all. And I find it problematic that people don't understand how they normalize. But first of all, that metaphor that Van used about that, if that's from what you said, because I didn't hear him say this particular metaphor about the idea of if they're always driving to the hole, if they finally shoot three, you have to acknowledge they shoot threes. Mm-hmm. That's not the right metaphor in this situation. In this situation, the metaphor is a team that apparently has no clue how to play basketball, and every time they get on the court, they just elbow and kick people in the face, and people are bleeding and being knocked down. And then finally, for one play in the game, they passed the ball and actually shot and then got a ball in. So the score is like 2-97.
And then you say, hey, they're basketball players now.
Right. This is a team. This is what I was looking for. I need when I wanted to watch a basketball game, I needed someone that's what I'm talking about. That's a basketball team. It's like, but literally everything else has been terrible. Like, they're not a basketball. They literally got the ball down the court once and then got a layup. It's not. What are you saying? And I get it, because it's very hard. One, there's a certain amount of pressure on media because of how they're being painted to try to be extra fair and balanced around all this. And this is something that has happened within media a lot. But now it's really extra because Trump keeps coming at the media. So the media has to play this game, and then people don't like the media. So they're like, all right, how do we do this? How do we do this?
They don't have to play the game.
They think they do.
They don't have to play the game, because what's happening now is they're serving two masters and failing both.
Right. Please,
they could serve the truth and make at least some people who care about facts and truth happy, instead of continuing this in between that's just all bullshit.
I mean, Dara, you know that I don't think that they should do this, but when I said they feel like that this is what they have to do, and on part of it is like, if anything happens, they have to say something positive in that moment, because then they could say, see, when something was okay, we said that, but so it's not that we're haters, whatever. But then when you see stuff like this from the Daily News, the cover, Don hits reset, showing it takes brighter tone before Congress. Tribute to CO brings widow to tears. Well, a lot of things could have brought her to tears at that moment. And it's interesting that they wanted to frame it in that way. But
you can't. Don doesn't hit reset unless the New York Daily News says that he does. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's a
literally
role to be played there.
People are walking to work, going to their jobs, going past newsstands, stuff like that, and they see the big picture of Trump saying Don Hitler said, like, oh, is he acting reasonable now? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Like,
You've allowed him to bury the bar by being incredibly horrendous.
Right.
And then anything he does, anything a little bit below horrendous, you give him everything. That's ridiculous.
No, but that's what they feel like they have to do in order to be looked at as fair and reasonable. And I think that's the part of the problem, because you should just be like the headlines I would expect it like Trump reads teleprompter, great, still problematic. Right. Trump gives calm speech vilifying immigrants. Didn't they create a task force?
Voice.
Yeah,
a task force around reporting crimes that have been committed by immigrants, even though all of the facts, who needs them? All of the facts say immigrants commit less crimes, fewer crimes than natural born Americans.
Yep.
The crimes that he referenced were people who were not white, but they also were not immigrants. Those people were born in America. So what are you really saying? I mean, I'm like, literally, Elon, yesterday, before getting on the stage, this man behind closed doors signed into law the bill that rolls back restrictions against people with severe mental illnesses in buying guns. So don't tell me about how he sounded. Let's talk about what he has done. He is putting this country in danger from every direction. I don't want to hear about the fact that he stood up for an hour.
Again, Dara, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but you seem like just so much hate, Dara.
Oh. So I'm on the other side of the screen now.
It happens.
I moved.
It happens. Yeah, I mean, Brent, did you pay attention to this at all?
I didn't have time. I was here editing.
Somehow, it always ends up being Elon's fault.
Every time. Somehow, like Brent, I heard that you just welcomed your first child. Well, I would have welcomed my first child, but I was too busy editing the last 2 episodes of the show, so I don't know if I even have a child. My wife might have died. I don't know. So, thank you.
Oh my God.
Goddamn Brent. But yeah, I just media. This is, I mean, this is literally us watching. Because also, so here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you how, just from my perspective.
And he blamed the military for the SEAL thing. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you from my perspective about us. They're doing this, us creating this media, reporting on these things, giving analysis, blah blah blah. I will fully admit I feel the pressure to not just say flat out, stop accepting this bullshit. It's wrong. Don't do it. He's full of shit. Whatever. I feel the pressure because by doing it, by constantly saying, no, this is bullshit. No, this is bullshit. No, this is bullshit. I then feel like I am constantly being negative, and I just won't bring any, like, I guess, like positivity or joy. I'm always being negative around. So if I could say something nice, it'd be nice, because I don't want to just be seen as just being constantly contrarian about all of this stuff. And I that thought did cross my mind. It did hit me. But then I said, but that's normal. That's the definition of normalizing. That's how you do that. So if you have that feeling in your chest or in your stomach about like, I feel like I'm being really negative, but I can't, like logically speaking, I'm looking around and this is all shit. You have to point out it's shit. So what? You don't sound happy. Okay. You want to sound happy? Talk about something else. Talk about binge watching Friends. Then you can be happy about shit. You can't do it about the president or our politics right now. No. It's shit. It's negative. You want something positive? Go watch a 6-year-old soccer game.
What?
Because they're adorable.
Is it
They don't even know what they're
16-year-olds
doing.
playing soccer?
I said 6-year-olds.
Oh.
Oh,
But
okay,
it's 6-year-olds.
Yeah, 6-year-olds.
Not a soccer game
Not a
that
game,
was
no,
aired 6
6-year-olds,
years
yes.
ago.
Because they're adorable. They don't know what they're doing really yet, and they're just running around and shit like
I
that.
thought
It's
you were
adorable.
talking about just like an old soccer game. It was like, yeah, the technology back then wasn't great. Look at it. It's so pixelated. It's adorable.
That's not what I'm at.
Okay,
I get what you're saying.
I understand.
I get it. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying here. It just I'm disgusted by the whole thing, and watching the real time normalization of an incompetent, hateful demagogue. Like, history is gonna judge this so much, or maybe it won't, because at the moment people are talking about how W is all clear headed and shit.
Oh my god.
So I don't know anymore. I just like I feel like I'm a man without a country or a timeline, because or apparently a memory, because if you can't bring up anything else because everyone else has already moved past it.
Oh my god. I started because I had watched that Van Jones clip that I was talking about. It started playing me the late show, the Stephen Colbert late show. Whatever he did in response to that speech. And as I was like on another tab and listening to it, and I switched back because it sounded familiar, and I don't know if I'm just going out of my mind or what is happening, because I was like, I feel like I've heard this before. Like but he said it was live after, and I was like looking at the date. I had the most intense feeling of deja vu, but like I had dreamed it. So I feel like I'm having premonitions in nightmares, and it's not fun. It's not fun to wake up and realize that your nightmare is exactly the truth. And that's where we are. If there is such a thing as the Mandela effect, can somebody please bring me back to my original timeline? Because I don't like this one.
You know, I realized I'm a terrible person. Because when you said that, I was like, no, you can't go back to your original timeline. I'm stuck here. Fuck that shit.
Who the hell?
No, if I'm stuck, we all stuck. I had a moment in my head, I was just like, no, Barry Allen, stay away from Dara. God damn it, just going around fucking with shit. No. And also, the Mandela effect is ridiculous. Someone who agrees with you, Dara, said that we were real world Mulder and Scully in reverse.
Reversed, yeah, I saw that, and that's true.
I don't
because I want to believe.
I don't want to believe. I mean, I'll believe when there's something for me to believe.
I just don't think that because I don't know something means that it's not true.
That's wonderful.
Because history has proven otherwise. There's lots of things that people are like, there's no proof for this.
Yeah,
and then there is.
But
that doesn't mean that you should have been thinking before, because you just don't know. There's a lot more that we don't know that we need to acknowledge. We don't know.
Once.
Mrs. Peacock.
Okay, I accept what you're saying.
Have you seen that movie?
The movie Mrs. Peacock.
The movie Clue.
Oh. No, I have not seen.
What?
You are constantly horrified by things I have not seen, and I just find it.
It's
hilarious.
got Tim Curry in it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Are you for real? It's got Christopher Lloyd in it.
That sounds great.
It's got Madeline Kahn in it.
Woo!
These are treasures, national treasures.
I believe you.
Eileen Brennan, what's wrong with you?
I just don't.
What's what is Sydney gonna? God, I can't go to another timeline because Sydney is just gonna not know the right things if I'm not here.
She'll know stuff.
She's not gonna know the right things, which is what I said.
On Twitter, Renaissance East said that this is your reminder that Cheetolini has yet to create job one.
Yeah, he has taken credit for creating a lot of jobs, which he did in this speech that we've been talking about. But it turns out that those decisions had already been made before he was elected to office or before he was sworn in. So all of that is crap.
You seem on top of this.
What?
I'm not saying anything. I'm sorry.
I know things.
You do.
And I read other things.
I appreciate
and I'm keeping up with things.
What?
Just so that my brain continues to fold in on itself when I hear I care about water. And I literally just hours ago,
Well, as long as you're okay there.
Having said that, no, though, now I can buy a gun.
What?
I can buy a gun now.
Why?
Because the bill that he signed into law was the one that stops, I forget the agency that does it, but the people who approve your disability insurance, it stops them from having to report that to the FBI so that you go on, a list of people who should be, that should come up when the background check happens. So I went on disabilities I've talked about on here before. From my last job because they broke my brain. And during that brain brokenness, I would have been reported and I would have gotten flagged on a background check. But no more. Yay. They were talking about me, right? When they signed that bill into law. That's what the NRA was hoping for, right? More black people getting armed.
I assumed.
Right? So congratulations, everyone.
You've done it.
Mrs. Peacock's got an AK.
Did you just call yourself Mrs. Peacock?
Yes. You got to look at you don't know Clue, so you don't know what I'm talking about. You don't know how apt it is. But it's apt. Because there's even like a little piece over here that's flipping. Oh, it's so great.
I believe you.
Awake black woman says she just watched Clue the other day because she knows what's up.
I accept that. All right.
Oh, wow. The YouTube chat room is blowing up with Clue love.
I mean, well, I believe Clue is loved by people. Sorry. There's various things I haven't seen, and people are going to cut me about it. And like, apparently Clue is one of them. You could at least be contrite about having not seen it as opposed to being like so flippant about it. Because it's so important. I'm not contrite in any shape, form, or fashion.
I know that.
Just in case if folks want it contrite, I feel bad for them because it's not happening. I got nothing. But what else do we have on the docket, ma'am? Because I don't want to continue pointing out how ridiculous this whole Shedderlini thing is.
To be honest, a lot of the docket was me throwing on stories about that in anger.
Oh, then keep going.
No, it's all right. I don't need to keep.
I want to hear it.
No.
Okay.
How about some actual good news?
Okay.
I mean, it's good news,
right.
but it's good news. The Harvard Law Review has just elected its first black woman president.
What?
It's been around for 130 years. And they have just on
What happened?
At the end of January. What do you mean what happened?
Because you seem
who did she bribe?
You just like you got sad. You're like, oh.
I mean, it's people keep telling us that racism is over, but we're still having firsts.
Yeah.
But I guess it's because racism is over because it's like not racist to say that black people are dumb. It's just the truth. Right?
Maybe black people need to learn some shit. You ever consider that, Dara?
No, I did not.
Black people just out here just being lazy.
Actually, I did. It's true. It would be great if there were economic and employment and educational opportunities for black people the same way that they were available for other people. But that's not the case, Elon. James.
Is
the white.
I get a the.
The white.
I'll take it.
Please.
What else do we have?
I'm gonna say her name.
Okay.
Emelme Umana. Mm-hmm. She's 24, and she's born to 2 Nigerian immigrants. So, immigrants, they're the worst. Also because he said, we're only sending out the bad guys. We know for a fact that that's not the truth because we just did a story about how the ICE agents are taking great delight in breaking up families, and they're not just focusing on people who are in gangs or people who have criminal records. It's people just getting swept up. People who are in the wrong place at the wrong time. People who didn't signal while changing lanes. They're not bad people.
Oh, whoa. They didn't signal while changing lanes, Dara. That's a good reason to get the fuck out of this country.
Oh my word!
I mean, you got to change your lanes. What's that? What's up with that? That's unacceptable. Our signal. I mean, America can be brought down by someone not signaling. That's how the terrorists win, Dara.
Oh my god!
No.
Oh my god!
No. Okay.
Oh my god! Oh
Dara
God.
might stab me, and I'm gonna accept it. But Dara might stab me.
Just, my arms are long enough to reach over there.
Your arms are long enough to reach New York. That's not really helpful. It's not a good point to make, Dara.
It's a good point because you're in danger.
I mean, I'm always in danger. I'm in danger when I walk in this room.
That's true.
There we go. Now we know. No one's half the battle. What else we got?
Let's talk about space, baby.
I'm okay. I like space.
Would you go to the moon?
No.
Why not?
Because the moon is terrifying. I don't believe. I'm not a space guy. That's not true. I love space.
I'm not a space guy.
I love space and the idea of space with a bloody passion. I would like the idea of space is great, but the actual space of space is not so great.
The actual
because
space of space.
Yeah, you have to go out in space. And like, there's no air there. There's like, I don't want to be underwater. Like, anywhere there's not oxygen, I'm good. That's like my basic rule. Like, where's the oxygen at? No, I'm gonna stay here. Underwater? Oh, you mean there's a crack? That crack over there? All of a sudden, I'm dead? Not gonna go there. Oh, space? You mean all of a sudden someone didn't do something? And there's a screw unloose? Or we'll get some debris that's flinging around the Earth at God knows how many miles an hour. There's a hit. No, I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. So no, I'll Skype with people on the moon.
You know they give you suits, right? You're not just left to your own devices.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, so great. So, boom, a big hole blows through my ship. I'm in my suit. Oh, good, I'm alive for a hot 50 minutes until the oxygen runs out in his suit.
Sandra Bullock made it.
Sandra Bullock was a white woman. She was breathing white
There's
privilege.
no racism in space.
There's always racism in space. She was breathing privilege. She's like, she ran out of air like 6 hours before that. She was literally breathing just white privilege at that point. No, I'm not going to space. Moon. Now, what's your point? Now that I've explained here clearly why space is bad for me to go.
Okay. You are familiar with Elon Musk's company, SpaceX.
Fucking Elon Musk.
Is that because he's on that board advising to Trump?
I mean, and also he fucks up, and then people are like, "Oh, Elon," and I'm like, "No, the Council of Elons, we voted him out."
Oh, your name is Elon.
Yeah, my name is Elon. I know it.
Oh, wow! Just putting that together. They have announced on a conference call a few days ago that they will be sending 2 passengers on a mission beyond the moon in late 2018.
Great.
We're living in the future.
That's part of the future I'm gonna skip out on.
They're 2 private citizens. They approached the company about the idea, and they've already paid a sizable deposit, which, of course, there is more conversation to be had about these great leaps and bounds forward in technology and who has access to them and what it means when these things go into the private sector as opposed to the government, which ostensibly would be more fair about how they dole out this stuff. But I'm a commie socialist, so that's probably why I think about that. What he said was, I don't know what his accent is, so I would just talk like me. I think this should be a really exciting mission that hopefully gets the world really excited about sending people into deep space again. This, again, of course, he's referring to, it's the first time human beings have traveled beyond low orbit since days of the Apollo missions.
Let's not do this. Let's not do this.
I mean, they're gonna do it.
I mean, let's not though.
They're planning to start crewed missions up to the International Space Station
What if we don't?
Well, I don't know, because in this timeline, we're doing it.
Okay.
And they want the moon mission vehicle to be automated, which is the part that scares me.
I mean, if you were down with automated cars, why would you be not down with automated moon vehicles?
Because one's much more difficult than the other.
It just has to be automated, just on the moon. What I find interesting is, forget the moon vehicles, but the actual ship itself there won't be an astronaut anywhere near. And I mean, if you're gonna get me to go to space, at least you gotta give me an astronaut. Like at least, like no, there's gonna be no astronaut, and it's gonna be automated to get you up there. And it's like these are all just bad things. These are all bad things for me. No, no. I need air. Oxygen. Oxygen's my
about
shit.
That oxygen, boss.
Oxygen is my shit, son. You don't know about oxygen. I'm telling you right now, and I know, and space don't have a lot of it.
Well, this is from the person who plans on colonizing Mars with 1 million humans, as he stated last September. So,
hey, Brent, you going to Mars, Brent?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm down.
See, I'm telling you, this is how they're gonna get rid of black people. Like, hey, you want to go to Mars? Black people like, yeah, I'll go to Mars. Like, haha, you ain't coming back.
Oh, I think given the current technological limitations, I don't think anybody expects to come back. I think the deal is you decide to go and live there for the rest of your days. Although there have been improvements in non-ballistic motion.
Either start creating portals and teleporting, or I ain't going nowhere. And also, when they get there, I need them to terraform the shit out of that place.
What is a terraform?
You know, basically, when they go and they make the oxygen.
They like put it in a bubble.
Well, no,
they make an atmosphere.
They make an atmosphere, yeah. Like the idea of I need them to get some atmospheric action and shit, because like I don't even like the idea of like just like being on a dome city. Like it looks cool as fuck from afar. Oh look, that city's in a dome, but then like wind and rocks and shit.
What?
Like they'll fuck up the dome.
They're from outside.
Like crack it.
It's not gonna crack it.
You don't know that.
We've got more.
Did you see?
Materials.
What's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
What's that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie?
What was he was on Mars? You know what I'm talking about?
Armageddon.
No. What? That doesn't even have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
I don't know it. I don't know anything.
No, it wasn't Running Man. It was the other one around the same time.
There's a movie about the Running Man.
Oh my God. You will not do this. You will not do this, Dara. I said, take the camera off her. Just sitting there dancing and shit. What's wrong with you?
People love my dancing.
It's not what's happening here right now. God damn it, I can't think of that damn movie. But the point is, they were on Mars, and it had some glass and shit, and all of a sudden, like one of the glasses got blown out. People got sucked out. Nah, I'm doing this. Not doing that. I like oxygen. Brent?
Yes, sir.
Today's show name is
I like oxygen.
And shit.
And shit.
We had it in shit yesterday.
Okay. I don't care. And Brent named it wrong because he actually wrote out and.
Oh.
In shit. And
Brent.
apostrophe shit.
Good
Brent.
Lord.
And just writing it out. What's wrong with you? What else we got that's not about me being in space? Total Recall. Thank you, YouTube chat room. Total Recall. Watch Total Recall. Shit goes down. No oxygen, no peace.
Arnold and the 3 titties. What?
Oh, 3 titties. There was a 3-titty lady in there on Total Recall. That happened.
Why?
Because she was a mutant. What do you want? Sometimes you get 3 titties. Sometimes there was a dude who was literally a being that was living in another being's stomach. Mutant Quato. You've never seen Running Man? You want to yell at me about Clue, but you ain't even seen Running Man or Total Recall?
Clue is better than both of those.
It's not your decision to make.
It is. I just did.
You can say that from your perspective, you would enjoy a Clue story more than you would enjoy a Total Recall story, and I will accept that. But you can't say it's just better. I mean, I don't remember. I haven't seen either movie in a very long time. It could be complete nostalgia. that I have going through my head.
I bet it
My mom
is.
loved Running Man, and I remember watching that with her. We had it on VHS. My God, there are people who's listening to this who might not even know what that is.
Oh, I saw my first episode of Sex and the City on VHS by accident. Because it had the Cosby Show at the beginning of it.
Oh,
And I was watching it, and then all of a sudden, Samantha was getting it against a fire truck with a man. They were both in his pants.
how did your parents deal with that?
They weren't there.
Oh,
That's actually a memory I've kept to myself until this point.
Hey, you know your mom would be watching. She was watching a Sex in the City.
I didn't do it on purpose. The tape had a big gap in it, and the tape will just keep running.
No, Britt,
if you don't pause it.
You see how Dara's apologizing to her mama because she never. Dara's a grown ass woman. Dara is grown as shit, and she's like, no, it wasn't that. I was just watching. What happened? I was trying to watch Martin, and then
we were not a Martin household.
Okay. That's another thing my mom watched.
I was not at the right age for Martin. Okay. I don't think.
No, you were.
Although my parents, there were a lot of things that were just inappropriate for me, and that was the only explanation I could ever get. So I did miss out on some things that other people of my age group were watching. No? Let's talk about Uber, man.
Again. Uber, can Uber be any shittier? Can they? Like, I don't think I've heard.
Shitty is it?
I haven't heard this much just shit from a private company as Uber. Like this is just amazing. They're just constantly in the midst of like, here's some other fucked up shit they did. Yeah. Here's some other fucked up shit they did. And now here's some other fucked up shit they did. Fucked up shit?
They did it.
Uber did it. Uber's up on it. Uber, that should be Uber's tagline. Uber, we be doing some fucked up shit.
Oh my God.
But your cab ride be cheap though, ain't it?
Not even that anymore. Well, that's actually the what's happening in this story right here. The Uber CEO was caught in a video. Some would say berating a driver. An Uber driver.
An Uber administration was being mean to drivers? Well, I can't believe. No.
But this time it was in real life. This person between Kalanick, what's his first name?
Kalanick, what?
Travis. Okay. Hey now. And the driver, Fauzi Kamel. He asks about, the driver asks about the reduced fares in general across the line. This article here notes that back in 2012, near the beginning, Uber Black rides costed about $4.90 a mile, and now it's $3.75. And well, first he starts saying things that are trying to be logical. Like, we didn't go low end because we wanted to, we went because we had to. In that instance, he's talking about services like Uber Pool, adding UberX to the original Uber service, which, as you might remember, was just black cars in the very beginning. And then the driver gets upset and says, I lost $97,000 because of you. I'm bankrupt because of you. You keep changing every day. You change the whole business. And our faithful CEO responds. And to be fair, again, Kamel is shouting at this point. Kalanick says, bullshit. You know what? Some people don't like to take responsibility for their own shit. They blame everything in their life on someone else. And then he gets out the car and says, good luck to the driver.
Is this the reason why I saw that article about him having to talk about how he needs to grow up?
Yes, this is the inciting incident for that latest apology.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You guys just stop being shitty. You're just actively shitty. Just accept it.
Having said that, the apology, which went out to all Uber employees and was also posted on the website, so you can check it out for yourself if you want.
I need to be a better leader. Help.
What he says is, it's clear this video is a reflection of me and the criticism we've received is a stark reminder that I must fundamentally change as a leader and grow up, as you mentioned. This is the first time I've been willing to admit that I need leadership help, and I intend to get it.
Yay. It's gotta be good to be white.
I mean, right?
Just fucking up right and left. Just right and left. It's like, hey guys, listen, I'm a bad leader. Get some leadership help. Don't worry though. I'll get some help.
I mean, and I don't know, like the part of me that's like, oh, people. It's like, wow. After all this time, this is the first time in his life he's ever had to admit to himself that he needed help, that he had a problem.
Leadership help. Maybe he understood that he needed help in other things, but leadership help is different. It's like, listen, guys, I know that there's been a lot of shit thrown at me and the company, and a lot of articles, bad, everything. I know I've just not been doing a very good job. But now, guess what, guys? Had to come to Jesus moment. Now I'm going to get some help. Yay. I'm not.
Uber's tagline all this time should have been, Uber, we need leadership help.
I thought that was the point of all those articles.
That's what I'm saying. Since the very beginning, there has never been, like, there has been taxi drivers are so unreliable and racist that people felt like they needed to use Uber. And there are other reasons why the model worked. But there was never a sense that they were doing things the right way, or that their leadership was noble in any way, or that they were doing the right thing. We've all known that they've needed leadership help from the beginning, right?
They've needed leadership help for quite some time, yes.
From the literal beginning. It's like all the boogeymen in the tech sphere got together and created a company. Like all of the worst people and all the stereotypes of horrible white men that run tech spaces are in Uber leadership.
Right.
And this is what, days after somebody, their engineering head had to resign after being there for a month or something because he forgot to disclose that the reason he left Google was because of a sexual harassment charge. Or I shouldn't say charge. I don't mean charge like
accusation.
Yes.
Yeah, weird how that works. I like that he thought he was going to get away with it. I'm just not going to say anything.
This is
guys,
what happened.
Huh?
I said, this is what happened. This is.
Just not going to say anything. What the hell? What?
And that guy, that's not a white guy, right? I believe that man was.
I don't know who he was.
Yeah, he was Indian. That's what happens when you hanging around with white people too much. You forget who you are. You can't just be white and like those white people now.
He could just be a bad person.
I'm not saying that I'm saying he thought he was going to get away with not saying anything.
Oh, okay.
Because he thought he had that. He looked around and was like,
minority.
oh, this is how we all are treated. And then all of a sudden they were like, we all are white men. You need to leave.
Yeah.
Can't get caught up. Don't get caught out there thinking you white.
What'd you say, Brent?
Been there a few times.
What, when you thought you were white and then the universe said nah?
Yeah. Well, I spent 20 years in a white enclave for my safety. And then one day I just was like, yo, this pressure is too much. I'm going to the East Bay and find me some black folks.
Damn.
So that was that.
Well, hi. Nice to meet the black folks. East Bay. All right. What else we got, Dara?
Oh man, it's all so terrible.
Yeah, that's kind of our job.
What every day I ask myself,
why are we hustling?
Like why?
Because we have a job to do.
Let's talk about it's a stupid job.
Stupid job. But.
Let's talk about we shouldn't bother blocking any confirmation, say the Democrats, so now our Attorney General is Jeff Sessions.
What? What?
Let's talk about our Attorney General, Jeff Sessions.
Okay, what about this wonderful, kind, gentle man who cares so much about the well-being of my community.
Okay, so about that.
Are you saying that I'm not telling that truth, Dara?
Well, I'm just so the communities that you mentioned, your community, our community. There are a few police agencies that have been specifically identified as having some troubles with our communities, in that they tend to harm and kill them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Our community members.
That's what's madness.
Or that they target them for low-level offenses to meet quotas and to generate revenue for the white people outside of the community.
Just saying.
We are familiar with this phenomenon?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Phenomenon.
Something like one. You don't even get that reference.
No, I don't. But I was busy singing.
That's fine.
So what Mr. Sessions, the Attorney General, as I may have mentioned, indicated yesterday was that the federal government was going to back away from monitoring those departments that had been identified as being troubled. Now, of course, this was the leading strategy of the Obama administration in an effort to force accountability on local law enforcement, and was their main way of trying to address the racial tension in this country and between the police and the people that they police. But when Mr. Sessions was addressing the National Association of Attorneys General, and let us all recall, this is the same meeting where Trump said we need to be careful about assuming who was behind the anti-Semitic attacks that have been popping up all over the place around the country, and is the reason that you're seeing images of children and babies in cots being taken out of JCCs because they've got bomb threats coming in. 20 just yesterday, but that's like neither here nor there. In this same meeting, Mr. Sessions says, we need, so far as we can, in my view, help police departments get better, not diminish their effectiveness, and I'm afraid we've done some of that. So we're going to try to pull back on this. And I don't think it's wrong or mean or insensitive to civil rights or human beings.
What? What? I'm confused, Dara. I need more. You're not. What?
Well, let me allow Mr. Sessions to elucidate.
Okay.
This work is coming out of a concern to make the lives of people, in particularly the poor communities, minority communities, live a safer, happier life so that they're able to have their children outside and go to school in safety, and they can go to the grocery store in safety and not be accosted by drug dealers and get caught in crossfire or have their children seduced into some gang or get killed by the cops. Oh, no, wait, he didn't say that last part. That was me.
It's weird, Dara. I just assumed that he would say it, but no, okay.
Yeah, and he's talking about safety in school, which, you know, school is a safe place where police officers or people who couldn't hack it as police officers or people who were under investigation and were forced to leave the police force and then went into security in schools endanger our children. That's not a thing, right?
No.
So this is fine.
Right.
Everything should be fine here.
Everything's great.
This is so bad.
It's so terrible.
Hot take. This is bad.
It's terrible. In a world that's already pretty shitty,
This is terrible.
This is terrible. I mean, but we knew what we were getting when Jeff Sessions was even put up there, and we know, like, again, and I feel like I have to keep saying this because, like, people keep forgetting. We know that Jeff Sessions is the architect of a lot of the bullshit that we've seen in these first couple of weeks. We know that Bannon's a big fan of Sessions. We know that Sessions has now said that we need to start locking people up. He's rescinded the idea of not using private prisons. He's trying to go hard at marijuana. He's actively trying to he's actively implementing things that will actively hurt our community.
And why might that be, Elon?
Because he has so there's a couple of different ways to look at this.
I've got a theory. I want to hear yours.
Well, I want to hear yours.
You show me yours first.
I'm not playing this game.
I interrupted you, so go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say now. That's why you should go.
Well, my theory is, and my tinfoil hat as usual is snug atop my head, that this and many other of the efforts that we are seeing is a strategy on behalf of Republicans to ensure future victories, which is what we mean when we say party over country. There's nothing to do about what's best for the country, except insofar as they believe that what's best for the country is to make it less diverse and more white. So any effort that you can take up that will villainize people who do not look white and get those people unable to vote for whatever reason, because they're in jail, because they've been killed, because they've been deported, starts to get the country looking like it should again. So we'll cut up the districts and gerrymander ourselves into some victories, and when that becomes too obvious, or just because we really like to double down on these strategies, let's get rid of the people who are the ones who are making this dangerous for us and making it more difficult for us to stay in power.
Okay.
That's what I think. Also, that's
maybe,
like kind of a stated goal with the immigration stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, clearly they think that the country is becoming too brown. There's been constant conversation over the past decade or two about the brownification of America and the fact that by a certain year, whites will be the minority, and that has scared the shit out of whites a great deal. A lot of the aluminum foil ilk on the right, who is all worried about white genocide and shit like that, and make up various aspects of the alt right and the conservative fringe and part of the mainstream. They have been terrified about this idea about the brownification, and all of a sudden they're going to be the minority. And the thing is that, like, the big fear is about the fact that they think that once they are the minority, then they'll be treated like the minorities have been treated now. It's always interesting how that's what they're really worried about that, and that's why they just knew that Obama was going to do all these things to white people for black people or whatever, because black people have been treated like utter shit. What I think, though, about what is happening, I think that this is what we're seeing is, I don't think in Sessions' head he thinks, man, I'm gonna get these niggers.
Really?
I don't think that. I think that he thinks he's talking about law and order, and the fact is that his very idea and concept of law and order is in fact a white supremacist idea of law and order, and he thinks that black folks are getting away with things. He thinks that that the white man is being attacked and his country being taken away. These black folks are being given all these opportunities, affirmative action, and then no one calls out all of the criminality that's amongst them, and this needs to stop. But I don't think he's like, let's get the niggers. He has all of these other like really fucked up ideas and concepts, which a lot of white people have, in all honesty, that he uses to make these actions that he's doing. And it's just that he has these fucked up ideologies, but he also has now an incredible amount of power on top of it. Because you can have fucked up ideologies, but if you don't have any power, you're just some asshat sitting somewhere being uber racist. But then now when you have the power, you can implement, you can add more racism to the system that's already there. And yeah, I think that he in his mind, like what was the quote about what he said about marijuana? about people who smoke marijuana?
Oh, I know.
What was it, Brent?
Good people don't use weed or cannabis or whatever they call it nowadays.
Thank you. See, Black Siri. As long as it's about cannabis. So just like cannabis and possible fugitivity, Black Siri, Brent. But yeah, I think that's his. I believe he believes that shit. And he believes that immigrants are fucking it up.
It doesn't mean that at the end of that thought trail there isn't at the end. Therefore, we got to get these niggers.
I'm just saying what I think.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that entire thought process can be there, but it doesn't mean that at the end there isn't still that we're not still in the crosshairs.
Oh no, we are. So rewind.
And that he knows,
huh?
And that he knows specifically the color of the people in the crosshairs.
See, I think he doesn't.
And also, he has spoken about his own white supremacist ideas in the past.
Oh no,
it's not just like.
I believe that you can uphold white supremacy without saying we gotta get these niggers. I feel like I feel like a lot of people are.
I feel like that's great in theory, but this person has demonstrated that that's what he thinks.
Again, we're talking about our theories about the actions around these things, and my theory is that this is white supremacy at its peak. But I don't believe that. But I don't think it's the same as like the story that we're gonna cover next, where the racism where there were people just being yelling nigger. Why don't we talk about that story, Dara?
Okay.
You know the story?
No.
35 years?
Oh, no.
You said we had to cover it.
Yeah, we should. Just the final thing. Like Jeff Sessions has been quoted as saying real racist stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I want to be clear. Like I am not saying he's not racist.
And that
the only thing I said, and this is what we're getting caught up on. The only thing I said was that I don't think he wakes up in the morning and says let's get them niggers. That's the only thing I said. I believe almost all of his actions. I believe all of his.
What has he done that makes you think that?
Huh?
What has he done that makes you think that?
From listening to the conversations around what he's saying around what white America is saying around these topics or whatever. It's what I've taken from it. This is the
man who said that I thought the KKK was all right until I found out some of them were pot smokers.
That supposedly was a joke. I'm not saying it was. Please no, Dara, you do this to me sometimes. Where I am not arguing that this person is not. This is completely just he's upholding white supremacy. He's racist. He's
Elon.
terrible.
I'm just disagreeing with what you're saying, based off of the quotes and based off of what I've heard, based off of the decisions that he has put down and the stuff that he's put on paper. I think that he wakes up and in the back of his mind somewhere is we gotta get these black people.
Well, by the way, even if that's what you believe, that's not what that I said that about like we gotta get these niggers. Like there's a very specific idea and thought process about thinking that way. And I'm not sure he goes through that, but I do believe he believes all sorts of racist, horrible things, and that he is going to implement rules and laws that will help deal with that. And
I'm just saying I haven't seen any evidence of what you're talking about. I have seen stuff that makes me believe what I believe. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that it's some kind of convoluted other thing and not just I don't like black people.
Say that again.
I haven't seen any evidence that makes me think that his ideologies are not stemming from his dislike of black people, as opposed to his dislike of black people comes from these other ideologies that he has. I haven't seen anything that would suggest to me that what you're
the whole focus on whatchamacallit, on the law and order bullshit or whatever. Like I feel as if
that's how racist people get to say the racist things they want to say without actually saying it. That's the Southern strategy. That's couching it in language that other people can receive without having to acknowledge that it's racist. It doesn't mean that those people don't know exactly what they're saying. They just know specific. I mean, they wrote out the strategy. They know specifically what to say so that they have plausible deniability around their racism. This is why when we talk about institutionalized racism, this is how it has come about. A whole bunch of people who don't like black people figuring out how to insert it into the laws of the land so that it doesn't sound racist, but it is. And yes, it's the result of those things that end up hurting the black community, but the impetus behind it is, at the start, I don't like black people.
Like I said, I'm just laying out how I think this is playing out and why it's playing out that way. But hit that story.
Yes, this is a story all about how some white people terrorized the black children's birthday party and actually got sentenced to total 35 years in jail for what they did.
Well, actually, don't yelp yet, Brent, because in all honesty, I want to see how much time they actually serve. But I believe we covered this story when it actually happened. There was a black birthday party that was happening, and there was the two stories. Was that these folks came in and they were with the Confederate flags on the trucks, and they were yelling racial slurs, and they got into an altercation with the folks at this party yelling, "What are you doing?" Whereas they say that the folks at the party was throwing rocks at them, and that's why they had to get out and got into this altercation. I mean, clearly, if a rock was thrown, that's why they were yelling about the niggers at this party, right, Dara? I mean, that's what happened. Like, the rock is what set that off, because otherwise these people in their big trucks and Confederate flags or whatever, they would never say such a thing. It was the rock throwing that got the nigger out of it, got him riled up to that point.
Yeah, that's why they said that they were going to kill them.
And what I find interesting is that the judge, like, flat out was just like, nope, this is a hate crime. You guys are hateful. And the judge was like had no time for the shenanigans.
Yeah, and this is in Georgia. What's important to note is this is only because of the judge that they had, and the specific prosecutor, because
they don't have a hate crime law. Right?
Exactly. They don't have a hate crime law. So what they were charged and found guilty of were aggravated assault, terroristic threats, and street gang terrorism, which I know we can't take heart in the lot, but I love to hear people like this be referred to as a street gang and street gang terrorists, because that's what they are. And so often terrorism doesn't count unless you're brown. So I'm glad to see that, especially because it's an actual charge. It has to be written down on paper, and even though our president's administration has decided that white terrorism doesn't count, here it is in black and white. The Torres, what's her first name?
Her name was Norton and his name was Torres.
Maybe. Yes, you're right. Jose Ishmael Torres was sentenced to 20 years, and his baby mama, who is Norton, was sentenced to 15. As you mentioned, Elon, she's not going to serve it all. So it looks like she's serving at least 6 for terroristic threats and street gang terrorism. I think the reason that some people are, I wouldn't say dancing in the streets, but like dancing like Dave Chappelle down your Twitter timeline, is because there's video of them in their sentencing crying.
Weeping? You mean that video right there?
This video right here.
Just weeping, just so upset about this. Were they that upset when they were rocking those Confederate flags and yelling nigger and threatening and pulling guns and shit?
Well, they maintain that it somehow didn't happen, even though there's video of it occurring. So I think when the video I saw, at least of Norton, was her saying, "I would never do this. I would never do this. This isn't me." Which, that's the kind of stuff you hear a lot of times when people are big and bad when they're with their friends and all of a sudden they're by themselves.
Or right when they're about to go to jail. That jail moment when you realize you have to do some time, that's a sobering moment, Dara. Sobering moment. All of a sudden, that moment where you thought you were just chilling, you were just being funny, just having a good time with your friends and being all raised. All of a sudden, you're catching that jail time. Yeah, interesting how that works, Dara. I mean, I don't like to laugh at people's anguish, but at the same time, don't go around terrorizing Negroes. Which is exactly what they were doing. Literally exactly. I would have been absolutely fucking terrified had I been in that environment. And I'm not a child, grown ass man. I'd be like, no. Well, you know me, Dara. I'm actually I'm terrified of white folks in groups and outfits.
In matching outfits?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's terrifying. I forgot. I was in town. I was on tour, and I ran into this town that was uber white, and I didn't know that there was a baseball game or something like that, and the whole town was going to the baseball game. So I get on the public transportation. It was like a train type thing. It wasn't really a train like New York or like BART or DC, but it was like this type of train. And I get on, and white people are just getting on the train, and they're just all dressed alike. And it was also a jersey I didn't recognize, and I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I also don't like a group of white dudes in suits. That also freaks me out. Don't like it.
They're just going to tank an economy.
I remember when I was back in Brooklyn. I remember there's a bar that is popular in my old neighborhood called Franklin Park, and I remember when Franklin Park, the first time a group of white dudes in suits showed up to Franklin Park, and the rest of us were just like, because we knew gentrification was coming. It was over at that point. And if you know that area of Brooklyn, you know that it is over. That whole area is just gone. Just like, it's over. You thought it was gonna be no. What else we got? Do we have anything else, Dara?
This is just a tangent, but I also saw a video of one of the family members who was present for the incident.
One where didn't she forgive them or something?
Yes.
Yeah. You know my opinions on forgiveness.
I do.
So I get it.
I don't.
I mean, I get why people will do it. Yeah. I understand why they feel as if it's helpful to them. It's something that I don't do. So, like, I'll tell you right now, nobody better, if anything ever happens to me or something like that, nobody apologize for, forgive anybody for me, okay? I get hurt, something like that, do not forgive shit. Put this on the record, Dara. You hear anybody forgiving things, even if it's my mama. Mama, I love you. Love you so much. I know you married to Jesus. Don't be forgiving nobody. My mama forgive people. I need y'all to go like, yeah, Elon wouldn't want forgiveness for these people. Someone pull this clip. I do not want forgiveness for racist shit causing me harm or death. Thank you. Do not forgive. Do not forgive me. Like, listen, I know this is wrong, but I forgive you. No. Sit in it. Stew in that shit.
That was actually one of the most difficult, I know we always go back to TV, or I do, of BoJack. When his
best friend, his old ass best friend,
I think he was the writer of Horsing Around.
Yep.
BoJack was
creator.
Right. And it's like, he made this whole speech about like, oh, you just have to forgive me because the guy was dying of cancer, right? And the guy was like, so, no. Because you're not forgiven.
Nope. And he thought he was gonna get forgiven because they had hung out a bit and they had laughed a bit or whatever, and the guy wasn't actively being extra shitty to BoJack, so he expected this apology thing to happen, and the guy was just like, no, you will just live with this.
Yeah.
There's something that's.
And he said you gotta know every day that you were a horrible person who did a horrible thing, and I don't forgive you. Get out of my house.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
That was tough. Even as real. I am saying, I don't understand why this and no, I don't understand why this woman is like, I forgive you, because the people are still claiming that they didn't do the things that they've been convicted of. So no, I'm not gonna like, why would I forgive you if you haven't even admitted that you've done anything wrong? doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. But that BoJack thing broke my heart, as BoJack does. Man, oh man, I would not recommend binging that show without a friend or ice cream.
I've done it.
Or something. I know you
I love
have,
it.
but you like to wallow in sadness.
Oh my God, do I? I don't want to wallow in it, but
You bathe and luxuriate in it during BoJack watching sessions.
What do you mean?
You're like, oh, it's awful.
What was that? It's awful. That's not luxuriating in it.
The awfulness was all around you, and you're just like, ooh, wow, so awful.
That's not. You know what? No, I rebuke you.
I've seen you watch BoJack.
Right, and my response is normally, oh my God, oh God.
Let's watch another one.
And then I watch another one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I will admit that I was talking about rewatching Black Mirror. Black Mirror, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is a series on currently now on Netflix as a Netflix original, where basically it does these. Each episode is a dive into technology and its connection with humanity and mankind, and how what's the next logical step. And it's always, like, most times it's horrendous. It's like something terrible that's going to happen. And apparently last season, one of the episodes that was the most popular was one that wasn't that terrible per se. It was considered uplifting, if you will, and it got a lot of love. And it was the one episode that I didn't care for that much. It was like it was supposed to be uplifting. I was just like it's okay. It was all right. The ones where I thought that, like, I needed to go outside and cut myself a little bit. Those are the ones I'm like, yeah, I need to see that. That's the thing where it just destroys your soul and stabs it a couple times, and then it serves it as pate. That's what I want to see.
Are you talking about San Junipero?
Yes.
Is the one that you don't like?
I don't like. It didn't connect with me in the same way.
Doesn't move you the same way.
Huh?
Didn't move you the same way as the others do.
Right. I mean, because horror, like that. Okay. Like somebody horrifying me. Okay, not horror, because I don't like scary shit really. But just like horrifying, gut wrenching stuff. That is like, all right, I'll watch it. My wife can't do it. My wife has not watched the second season of Mr. Robot yet. We have it. But I'm just like, hey, let's watch. She's like, no. Because we watched, I think, the second half of the first season of Mr. Robot and Black Mirror and Westworld around the same time. My wife did not deal with that well.
That's a lot. Although that was a very good point in my life last year.
I mean, it was just great television.
So good.
Just tune in and just
good.
So much. I know. And I was happy that I didn't read any of the spoilers around any of the shows, so I really didn't know anything that was happening or like what's gonna happen. I just watched everything straight, and I was just like,
I got inadvertently spoiled with Westworld, and I was really disappointed about getting spoiled. Yeah. I don't do it. I'm not gonna do it. You don't have to worry about me. I am not a spoiler. Okay. I really like San Junipero. That's one of those things where I'm like, go ahead, life, imitate art. I would like to go there and have that be like, I'm totally fine with that as something, as an eventuality of our technology. The one that got me, the one is Shut Up and Dance, which I won't go into the plot of because you kind of can't with a lot of these, you can't go into the plot without ruining it.
Yep.
Shut Up and Dance is the one that every once in a while, like maybe like once a month or so, I'll just think about the ending and go, oh my God.
Of course, off the top of my head, I don't remember Shut Up and Dance. But I'm sure that as soon as I Google Shut Up and Dance, I'm going to freak out and go, oh yeah. I mean, literally, I'm Googling right now.
Okay.
And I'll hopefully know what it's about. But, all right. I think
it's about blackmail.
Huh?
What? It's about blackmail.
I'm just trying to remember which one that was. There we go. I'm nervous. Oh no, is that the one? Oh no! Oh, that was terrible. Ooh. Sorry. Oh God, that was terrible. Oh God.
The other thing about Black Mirror episodes is that there's a reveal and you're like, oh no, and then there's still like 7 more minutes left. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, what? How? What? And then it gets worse and worse and worse with like one more reveal and another reveal and a final one. And you're just like, why? Why?
I love it.
Oh God! But that one, every once in a while, I will out loud, like in the back of an Uber, be like, "Oh my God!"
Actually, I had forgotten about it. My brain had actually blocked it out because I was so horrified by it. But thanks for that, Dara. It's back in my mind.
Oh, by the way, somebody on Twitter last night asked me about whether or not they should binge Monk. And at first I was like, why are you asking me this? What do I know about Monk? And then I was like, well, actually, the through line with the wife is very satisfying in the first couple episodes. And they're great serialized after that, too. So I would binge away. And it's like, oh, yeah, feel free to ask me about TV shows because I literally am full with knowledge that is useless. That's my PSA.
Have we been sufficiently black? Now you do have a black grandmama feather in your hair right now.
It's not black grandmama.
Huh? It's like it looked like you should take that feather out your hair and put it in a hat, and start going hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I'm wearing the T-shirt for the acapella group of which I was a founding member, and president for one. I love you guys, but horrible year. And it was for Black people.
Gotta let that cook. Brent, have we been sufficiently black?
Oh yeah. That lady's face, man, when she got that sentencing. Oh my god. Made my week.
I didn't understand that Brett was enjoying that so much over there. I mean, but like a lot of people enjoyed it. I mean, it was. I mean, when you know what they did, and then you go and you see them the breakdown, you just kind of gotta go. You just gotta like, yeah, you know what? Just you know what you do? Don't be racist to black people. Don't be shitty like that.
They have guns, man.
Yeah, and they're like, oh,
that face.
Man, please.
Face full of racialism.
It's terrible. We're terrible. We should feel ashamed, Dara.
I don't feel shit.
I don't feel it either. Apparently,
I mean,
none of us feel it.
I don't feel
None of us. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow. Same black time, same black channel. Have a pleasant. Oh, and if you get a chance, I forgot this. I want to do some feedback for Feedback Thursday. So leave us a review on the Twit Prime with Elon James White Facebook page, on iTunes. We love iTunes reviews, and we haven't been asking for them, so people stop doing them as much. So like we want to get some new iTunes reviews, and we'll read them on air. And magic shall ensue. Thank you guys for listening, watching. Have a pleasant evening.
What? What? I ain't even say anything yet. Hey, they say the blacker the berry, you know the sweeter the juice. Time for this week in blackness, so everybody get loose. Smell like something on fire, ayo, I think it's the roof. Smell like something on fire, ayo, I think it's the roof. It's like black feel, black soul, black pain, black power, black people. When you lend an ear for a couple hours, I don't make it rain. I don't care about your chain.